Am I the idiot for not going to my daughter's wedding? The wedding was on March 25th, which coincides with my other daughter's birthday. She was born March 25th, 2022. She was barely 3 months when she passed away. My wife, not my eldest daughter's mother, has been wanting to celebrate our daughter's life on the date of her birth. I also didn't feel it appropriate to leave my wife on this day since she is still grieving, as am I, and we haven't fully come to terms with things. When my eldest daughter was planning her wedding, I told her I'm doubtful I'd be there if she chose this date. I understand March 25th is significant to her relationship and that's why she chose it, but it just wasn't feasible for me. I was not even in a good place mentally on that day. It was a day of tears. Obviously there is a lot of guilt about missing my eldest daughter's special day, but I honestly don't know if what I did was wrong. Her side of the family has been sending me a lot of scathing messages, particularly her mother. Comment 1. I only infrequently visit this sub and honestly, I feel like this sub attracts a certain brand of people. Most situations in life are more or less gray, with no clear perpetrator and victim. Of course, there are exceptions, for example abuse, then there's a literal perpetrator and a literal victim. But a lot of stuff in life is just not like that. I feel like this sub attracts people who do want it to be like that or who believe that it is like that, which is why you will see people swinging abuse allegations under posts about a normal disagreement between siblings. Comment 2. Yup. The way some people talk as well, damn. I remember seeing a post that was a few minutes old, the OP was in the wrong but it wasn't something bad and they just messed up. Some comments? You know you did wrong. You're just trying to victimize yourself. Do you think you can get away with this? Grow up. I hope they leave you. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for giving my mom the wrong start time for my birthday lunch so she'd be on time? My 22F mom, mid-40-foot F, is one of those people who is always late to everything. I'm talking family get-togethers, birthdays, graduations, weddings, you name it, she's showing up late. At first growing up I just thought it was because she's bad with time, but as I've gotten older I genuinely believe she likes making an entrance. I personally find it 1, rude and 2, embarrassing because it's not like it happens once in a while. It literally happens at every single function she is invited to that has a set time. Many family members have complained about this, nothing ever changes. It's gotten to the point that whenever my grandma has family lunches or dinners she'll tell me, Mom, it starts an hour earlier, that it actually does, so she'll be there on time. My mom doesn't know that my grandma does this, it's a joke between grandma and I. This past weekend was my 22nd birthday. My grandma wanted to do a lunch for me at her place with our immediate family. The lunch was to start at 2 p.m., but we told my mom 1 p.m. I had plans later that evening to go out for dinner with my boyfriend, so I wanted to leave my grandma's house at around 5 the absolute latest because I needed to go home and get all ready. Well, of course my mom was late. We called her at like 2:30 p.m. to see where she was because it's her daughter's birthday. She had just left her house at 2:30 p.m. and still had to pick up her BF on her way to my grandma's, 30 to 35 minutes away, so none of us were expecting her to arrive until like 3:30 p.m. She finally arrives 2.5 hours late from the time we told her, makes her little entrance. We question her about. She tells us she thought the lunch started at 2. We asked her where she heard this from, she said my aunt, who was present at the lunch, told her. We questioned my aunt and she said she felt bad, lying to my mom. Everyone is pretty annoyed, but we all move on. Fast forward an hour later, 4:30 p.m., I have to start leaving. My mom starts getting all annoyed with me that I'm leaving so soon and that she barely got to see me for my birthday. I told her that my life doesn't revolve around her and that she should have been there sooner. She started giving me attitude and listing all these excuses as to why she's late. I couldn't be bothered to hear them and left. Later that night she messaged me saying that I was acting like an towards her and it was rude of me to lie to her about the time the lunch started. My mom and my aunt think I'm an for lying to her. My grandma doesn't think it's a big deal and they're overacting. I came here for some outside opinions. Comment 1. NTA. But stop lying to her. Stop accommodating her. Don't hold up any events or dinner or lunch or anything for her. If she arrives to a meal or function and it's over and the food is either gone or put away, then it's oh well, should have been here on time. I would never hold up one more thing for her. She's rude and has no respect for other people's time. Comment 2. Yes. She needs to face consequences for her actions. If you always accommodate her lateness, she'll never learn. She may have all these reasons, not excuses, but ultimately there is only one reason: she doesn't respect others' time. Instead of catering to her lateness, start doing the opposite. Plan things with a strict start time. Like a reservation at a reservation or even like a booze cruise. With the booze cruise, if she misses the boat, there's nothing to be done. She's SOL. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for telling my sister that her baby isn't the only one that matters? I, 32M, am expecting my second child with my 30F wife. My wife is 14 weeks pregnant, and we are really excited. My sister, 25F, and her wife, 27F, are also pregnant with their first child. My sister and her wife did IVF, and my sister is 38 weeks pregnant. I'm very happy for them, and I think they will make great parents. The other day we all met up to see our grandparents. They live out of state and don't visit a lot, so when they do we always set aside time to see them all together. My grandparents were talking about how excited they were to see my sister and her wife become mothers, and they couldn't wait to have their first great-granddaughter. They continued to talk about my sister's baby and didn't even acknowledge my wife's pregnancy. I could tell it was hurting my wife, so I tried to start a conversation to include her, but it always went back to my sister and my SAL's baby. I even tried talking about the gender reveal we are holding soon, but no one seemed to care. My wife got upset and walked out of the room. My sister asked me if everything was okay, and I told her that my wife was upset because she's feeling left out. My SAL apologized and said that that wasn't her intention. My mom tried to convince my wife to come back and sit down, but she refused. My sister told me that my wife can't expect every conversation to be about her, and this isn't a competition. I told my sister that her baby isn't the only baby that matters and ours matters too. My grandma told me that she would be more than happy to discuss both pregnancies, but it was too late. My wife wanted to leave, so that's what we did. I'm now being called an asshole by my parents for making a scene with my grandparents there. I feel like no one cares enough to see my wife and I's side in this. Comment 1. This. YTA. Not your wife, just you. Your wife is valid in feeling a bit left out. I won't judge a pregnant woman for feeling pushed aside when she's overlooked during pregnancy conversations. You, however, are acting like your sister is intentionally stealing the spotlight. This is her first pregnancy. An IVF pregnancy, mind you. She deserves the same attention your wife got her first pregnancy. She's also due at any moment now, so of course she is the main focus. You seriously shamed a pregnant woman because her mother and grandmother are excited for her? Get over yourself. You're an and you owe your sister and her wife an apology for acting like a spoiled child. Do you also get jealous when you don't get to blow out the candles at other people's birthday parties? Side note, I'm currently pregnant with baby number 2, and folks just aren't as excited the second time around. Folks also includes me. This ain't our first rodeo, so when I found out one of my friends is pregnant with her first, I jumped with joy for her. I see her a couple of times a week because she's a client where I work, and I ask her how she's doing every time. I let her take center stage when others ask about our pregnancies. I've had my moment in the sun with my first pregnancy and thoroughly enjoy seeing her beam from the attention. It's such a special time the first time around. Editing this to a softer YTA. Although I still believe OP could have communicated his feelings in a better manner, he's entitled to his feelings. It's normal to feel a little left out and pushed aside. I just think his anger was directed towards the wrong person. His sister and his wife needs to be okay with not being the main focus this time around. Let sister have the attention. It's her first child and she's due any moment. If it is really that upsetting, learn to talk with your family about it rather than being rude to your pregnant sister. Comment 2. I think the point was that they don't see these people very often, so getting a major life event ignored would be pretty disheartening. His sister has been pregnant for a while, so it's not like this is the first time they've been talking about the excitement of it all for his sister. I sincerely doubt they think every conversation has to be about her. It seems like she just wanted them to express excitement about her too, since they don't see them very often, and not just take away the spotlight. Wife just wanted to be acknowledged. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for not re-inviting my sister and her family to my wedding after we changed it? My fiancé and I plan to have a large wedding in July at a venue in the country. I guess that was too out of the way for most people because only 14 people RSVP'd that they were coming. We had already set aside money for our wedding, and since there was no longer going to be a lot of people coming, we decided to splurge. So, we asked everyone who RSVP'd that they were coming if they could take a few extra days off for a longer trip to Hawaii, all expenses paid by us. Everyone said yes, so we started booking tickets and suites at this nice resort. We also planned some fun things to do while we're there. Everyone is very excited for the trip. Now my sister, who RSVP'd that she and her family weren't coming, is upset that I didn't re-invite her when we changed plans. She thinks that since it's basically a different trip, they should have been told. Originally, she said she couldn't come to our wedding because that time of the year is very difficult for her and her husband, because the summer is the busiest time for their business. They have a landscaping business. Also, she said traveling that far with all her kids would be difficult because of the long car ride. It would have been around a 3-hour drive from where she lives. So it doesn't make any sense to me for her to say she can go on a longer trip even farther away. The plane trip is almost 9 hours long. Also, she says it's unfair because our brother and his family gets to go while hers doesn't. That's making her kids feel left out because their cousins are going, and my sister says it's like playing favorites. My sister and her family would be 5 more people, so even if we wanted to re-invite them, they would cause us to go way over budget. The only other option would be to drastically downgrade the trip we already promised everyone. It just seems totally unfair to everyone else, but my sister also thinks I'm being unfair and says we pulled a reverse bait and switch. Comment 1. This 100%. OP, she wants a free trip. Too bad. Just tell her, I'm sorry you feel that way, but is your busy season suddenly less busy? Can your kids suddenly handle a longer trip? You told me those were your reasons for not coming, and those reasons haven't changed, so let's move on. If she keeps pushing, let her know that your budget is maxed out, but you'd never stop her from coming. They'll just have to pay for themselves. Now the whole family can have fun together. Comment 2. Be sure to explicitly say, you're welcome to come if you're interested in the wedding. If you're just wanting a free trip, I'm afraid we financially can't do that, and we only changed plans because so few were actually committed to coming. Missed your chance. They want to spoil the people who were truly down to celebrate them, and they're getting an extra treat in return. Doesn't sound like they'd be very good guests. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for taking away my son's access to games for deleting all my progress from all of my games? I, 34F, have a very spoiled 13-year-old son we will call Junior in our home. We absolutely love gaming when we have the chance, so Junior has access to all of our game systems. He mostly plays the PS5, but occasionally will play the Switch. So a big rule I have for my Switch, he broke his on accident, is absolutely no Fortnite. He has it on every system he can get it on, but I don't want it on mine, nor do I have the space. I'm currently at home with a very needy newborn who won't nap unless I'm holding him. This is after 5 months of strict bed rest while pregnant. As you can imagine, I've been getting a lot of time to play on the Switch, but when Junior asked to use it to play a game, I gave it up. Upon getting OT back this morning, I went to play one of my games, Stardew, to find half of my games uninstalled and Fortnite on it. I was aggravated, but whatever. I was stressed and just wanted to relax, so I deleted it and its data. When I launched my game, all of my progress was gone. I checked my other games to find the same. Long story short, I had a stern talk with Junior and grounded him from all of the systems. As you can imagine, he was furious. He yelled, went to his room and slammed his door. All of which woke the baby. Next thing I knew, I got a call from my mom saying games are meant for kids and I needed to get over it and give her grandbaby his games back. I told her absolutely not and went and grounded Junior from his phone as well. My mom is still blowing up my phone and threatening to come save her grandbaby since I can't grow up and parent properly. Comment 1. This is exactly what it would have happened if I had been 13 and got kicked off the game system and then went and called my grandma on my mom. Firstly, my grandmother would have yelled at me for trying to get out of punishment. And then my mom would have taken phone privileges too. Although I grew up in a period where grounding wasn't just games, it was everything you could possibly want except book school and sitting on the porch with mom. Comment 2. Right. If I had done something like that, my grandmother probably would have suggested a worse punishment. And this is a woman who I am still close with as an adult, would still never intervene with parenting with my little cousins, who are Junior's age with a baby brother, and still behave better.